Koi is a god with mommy issues. Arctic Press brings sexy back, and DC's like, hey, I got a great idea. Let's start telling some good stories. All that and more on this week's Haul. Hey, you wonderful weirdos. I'm Pocan Joe, and as always, you're pretty cool for swinging by. This week, I have a lot of comic books. Comic books are back on a regular basis now, and I also got a load of notes, so let's jump into these. If you want a deeper dive into these, though, and maybe some other opinions, don't forget about Blaster Stash at Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on YouTube, where myself, Huey, and Spectacular Spider Grandpa, we're going to sit and talk, and we have a live chat, and we want to know what you think of these comic books as well. So definitely swing on by 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't be afraid. Without further ado, here's what I'm bringing to the party on Friday night. First off, we got Batman number 96, and we get a first appearance in this of this clown killer kid, maybe? It was really kind of hard to tell. I'm assuming teenager, 20s, right around there. I don't know, but I don't care. I really kind of like this character. He seemed very kind of mundane. Just kind of.
Wait, hold on, son. I don't know what book you've been reading.
Like no emotion, which is refreshing for this book. Normally you wouldn't say that about a comic book, but after coming off the Tom King run and everything being about emotions and feelings, it was kind of refreshing to see somebody that can't express empathy but can still do the right thing. That was very interesting in this. Also, Batman, of course, getting hit with some gas last time, having to deal with a bunch of issues like everything Tom King did, which is pretty much suicidal. Also, and the death of Alfred, still having to deal with that as well, and even hearing him in his head. So we're kind of moving into this Joker Wars. This is part 2. However, I did notice some similarities between the Joker's plan to take over, right, and kind of what Bane already did. It's almost like this should have been that story. If you saw that connection too, comment down below. Let me know what you thought about that. It just doesn't really seem kind of Joker-y to me. It seems, but then again, something could just pop out of the woodwork in the next issue and we could be totally surprised. Let's see what happens. Moving on. Deceased. Man, I like Deceased. I like everything about this. We had the superheroes that had to come back to Earth. If you don't know, Damian Wayne, he's Batman now, and Jonathan is Superman now. And wow, and there may be a cure for the anti-equation virus thing that turns everybody into zombies.
All right, now we're talking.
But there's also something nefarious going on in the background. Seems like Poison Ivy has a lot to know about this, but how is that ultimately going to work out? Well, we have to go to Australia to find out. There's worse places you could go, even though like 99% of everything in Australia could kill you. It was still really cool. Also, we saw Plastic Man. He's a zombie, and he looked like just a molten of water. I thought that was really cool. I really like how they're using the vastness of all the characters in DC to kind of role play into this in some way, shape, or form. Rather it be somebody that ends up dying, or rather somebody's already dead and trying to kill the living. It's kind of just fun. Just, you know, what characters are they going to pull out this time? There's a lot of that going on in here. Really good stuff. Big mystery going on. Definitely a pick for me this week. Pick of the week. This is going to sound a little weird coming from me, because normally I don't like these multi-story books where it's just a bunch of artists just jam-packing a story. But I did like this because I don't know much, maybe you do. I don't know much about the Metalverse. That was kind of when I was out of comic books at the time.
Go ahead and make fun of me. Everybody else does.
So I'm kind of behind on all of it. But it was really cool and refreshing to kind of get an origin story about some of these characters and who they are. And more especially the Robin King, or King Robin, I think is what we're going to call him. And how basically it's just Bruce Wayne, just sadistic as a child. I thought it was like, it's kind of funny. A lot of other good things going on in here as well. Just the monster truck thing, you know, when that came out a couple of issues ago, everybody was like, what's with this monster truck thing? And then we got that origin story. We got the Tyrannosaurus Rex story in here. Just silly multiverse fun, but done in a very dark and sadistic way. And I really, really enjoyed that. So refreshing read. It was nice to see that actually can happen and it not come off too weird. Going on to Marvel now. I picked up the Celestial Messiah #1. So I've been reading Empire, or not all of them, but like the main story and a few tie-ins here and there. And I kept asking myself, I was like, why is this kid this way? Like, I don't, I vaguely remember the character from way back when he was just a kid. And we got a lot of that kind of storyline in here too. You know, his mom's Mantis and dad being the swordsman, and then dad swordsman died, and a Coati took over his body. It gets complicated. But I was like, seriously, why is this kid all of a sudden hung up? And we kind of get that motivation in here. His parents failed him in raising him.
I feel satisfied with that answer.
Isn't that always the case? So if you're a parent, you might want to take some what not to do's in here. Just saying. I wish I would have known that. No, I'm kidding. But all in all, this was an okay read. Very forgettable story for not a new character. Just explaining motivations. Because I'll admit, in the main storyline, it can be confusing. And hopefully somebody else caught that, and that's why they wrote this. It definitely clarifies things. Doesn't make it a great story, but it kind of gives us reason. Moving on, Guardians of the Galaxy. So this is Moondragon versus Moondragon, and I'll be honest with you, that was boring. Oh my god, I know that was the main vein in this story, but I was just like, oh my god, it's another one of those internal battles of, you know, being perfect, not being perfect, dealing with self-consciousness, and that's all you're really doing when you take these kind of stories and you put two twins together with exaggerated personalities. You're really just talking about one person and their personalities fighting each other. How's that for some psychology?
Hey, everybody, simmer down.
It definitely opens up a light in this one. That is what makes it boring. Because the internal struggle here is just not too real for me. I did find, very humorously, Hercules and the Prince of Power going at it. Prince of Power kind of reminded me of a young Hercules that we remember seeing in the comic books. Very brash, very bold, very egocentric, the whole 9 yards. And then we kind of see this older kind of Hercules, like, hey, settle down, kid. I don't have to work as hard as you because I know what you're going to do type attitude. I found that to be more interesting than anything else in this. I don't know. And it wasn't that long. But, all in all, this is a 50-50 for me. I don't know if I should. We'll see if I even remember it tomorrow. So they've been hinting at this. Fantastic 14 meeting back up with the Hulk and Ghost Rider and Spider-Man and Wolverine, and we got two of them. We were like, all right, we're going to get the other two. And we kind of sort of did in a clickbaity sort of way, maybe.
Well, the truth, I'm afraid, is never that simple.
But regardless, it was still an okay read. I'm still trying to figure out why these two kids are so important. And then we found out how much they really despise each other. And then we kind of get an introspect that they are just kids, and we need to remember that. Even though they're warriors, they're still children at the end of the day. I think this would be more interesting. I'd be more in tune with it if it wasn't for the Empire stuff that's kind of force-feeding it. We also see the Black Harvest in here. They're on the side of, they're like, think of them as Kung Fu, vegan worshipping priest, I think is the best, because they're on the Kokedi side, right? That's kind of what they're at. And they need to capture the young boy, the young Kree boy, and take him off someplace. We don't know where. Hopefully we'll get more of that. And again, I don't want to spoil it for you, but you kind of sort of, in a clickbaity sort of way, get the new Fantastic Four team. That is really an old Fantastic Four team, but if you read this, you know what I'm talking about. Thought it was kind of cheap, and I don't want to chintzy it for you if you haven't had a chance to read it yet. But definitely, if you thought it was chintzy too, comment down below. I want to know I'm not just the only one out there that feels this way. That would be great. Moving on. Giantsized Phantom X. So I vaguely remember Phantom X from back in the day. I kind of thought of him as a more serious Deadpool type character. Like, he's all about money. He's a mercenary. He's always got something witty and funny to say. He obviously has a fake accent. We see him through time dealing with a place called The World, which is an experimental place where he kind of came from, and there's a version of him there, or a clone of him there, I should say. But throughout history, we see him work with teams like everything from the Howling Commandos to the X-Men now, and that's where we're at now, and how this world has kind of been manipulated. It kind of reminded me of a, I don't know how to put it, maybe, I know I wrote it down in my notes, Kind of reminds me of a Hickman / Morrison type environment, if you know that art. Very imaginative, like a child's imagination coming to life in the worst case scenario, in a very, very dark worst case scenario. That's kind of what's going on here. Um, what the connection is, I don't really know. I kind of fell off the whole X-Men thing.
Look, I know it doesn't make much sense to you.
But by itself, it was an okay read. It was kind of cool to see throughout the history, both Phantom X, the teams, and this world kind of change. But all in all, I could have passed on it and would have never known the difference. Last for Marvel, we got Empire #4. So Empire #4 is starting to die off for me. Like, it's starting to slow down very dramatically. Hulkling takes a 180 in this and decides to be the person that needs to blow everything up. But is it the Hulkling? Is it not the Hulkling? A computer and a hammer said it was. His husband says it's not him. You know, and who are you going to believe? The emotions or technology? And that's where we're at with that. And it's so lame. It's just like, really? Okay, so it may or may not be. We don't know. Stick that off to the side. We find out She-Hulk's not She-Hulk. It's one of the cookies. And I think this is going to be one of the seed-ins for the Immortal She-Hulk, because they need to do that because diversity and equality.
What a nuisance.
But with that said, if they do it or whatever, it doesn't really matter to me. But we definitely see that in here. They keep saying she's dead and she's being worn as a suit, kind of like what the Thing's doing with the Swordman. Yeah, because we can tell that story over and over again. And then we also get perspectives of leadership from three very different types of leader. One from the Black Panther, saving the nation, drawing his lines, doing what he has to do as a strategist. And then we get Koi, who's trying to figure out what he is, basically, and why his worldview is the way that it is. And then we get Hulkling, which we don't really know, because it may not be the Hulkling. It's still just as confusing as before. So don't come to this thinking that you're going to get any answers, because it's not going to happen. It's just going to be a bunch of more questions. And that's why I think this is kind of dying off on me. One or two little mystery spots in it, I can deal with. 3, 4, 5, I'm like, first off, I'm not buying all the tie-ins. I'm not trying to be that heavily involved in a comic book. Hence the reason why I have a YouTube show where I say stuff. Okay, so moving on. Oh, and this was the 1 per store variant. I went ahead and picked that up. It was a decent price, so I figured why not. Okay, moving on to my independence this week. If you don't know, this is 7 Secrets. Number 1. I'm not sure if this went out everywhere. It was kind of surprised there was 1 at my store, so I went ahead and bought it up. It's kind of tropey to some degree. There's a secret organization that has to protect. You want to take a guess? You got it. 7 secrets that are scattered throughout the universe. 2 people, one called a holder, one called a handler, have to kind of watch over this secret. Right? We don't know what the secret is. We can't even phantom it. We do know that it made Atlantis sink. They kind of mentioned that kind of off-puttingly. So that will come back later. And there's a villain that, of course, wants these secrets. Well, we have 2, and just so happens it's a man and a woman. And eventually, in a drunken stupor with too much brandy and probably a lot of cigars, someplace in Singapore, they made a baby.
It's disgusting. You're right.
So they have to give up the baby or give up the order. Of course, they give up the baby, but the baby's raised by, you guessed it, the order. Daddy has to die in this because that's what men do in comic books now, and mom doesn't even raise the kid. So what's going on in here? Basically, the story is being narrated to us by the child. So obviously, the child's going to have some sort of role here soon, and the villain's kind of sadistic, so I'm on board with that. All in all, the artwork's great in this. The story plotline, yeah, it's a little tropey, but hopefully they'll put their own little spin on what the secrets are. You know, they like the secrets to life, or maybe it's how to solve a Rubik's Cube. Whatever the 7 secrets are. I'm sure that's where the twist and the kind of play on the comic book will come into play, because it just reads like that should be it. But I've been wrong before. But definitely, this was a hard stash for me, and very enjoyable, I might add. And again, it's called 7 Secrets, number 1. Next, of course, I got myself some Bad Mother. How's that for a review?
I simply don't care what you people believe.
Okay, so basically it just smells like Taken to me. I don't know why, even though it's not. So, typical Karen mom from suburbia is grocery shopping. Clothes don't fit her, whatever the case may be. Whatever her hardships of home life are, they're obviously expressed in the first few pages of this comic book. But the store she's shopping in gets robbed. And one of the bad guys takes a bullet in the head while the other one escapes. Now, the one that escapes is probably most important because something happens to him later. So mom comes home, tries to get a hold of, her husband. Her husband's away on business. Apparently, wherever he's at, they don't have cell phones or something with the cell phone. I don't know. I hope that he's like a secret agent or something, because I'm sure it will explain the next issue when Mama's got a gun scenarios start happening. Regardless, um, son goes off to camp. Mom's had a very frazzled day and just doesn't want to be alone. Daughter's beyond curfew. She comes in. She's been beat all to hell, apparently by the boyfriend. Mom's going to go take care of business. Like, she shows up and finds the boyfriend and the guy we saw in the store dead. Ta-da! Comes home. Daughter's gone now because she's done been kidnapped. Tells the cops, goes back to where she found the bodies, and the body's clean. Everything's cleaned up. So now we're dealing with did I really see this thing? I've never really liked that kind of storyline, but whatever. All in all, what did I think of this book? I don't know. Again, it just seems like Taken to me, right? If you've seen the artwork in it and kind of everything set up, it's like Taken only with a middle-aged Karen mom from suburbia. She's even got the call your manager haircut. If you work in retail, you need to comment down below if you get this reference. But you know that really short here and then it kind of fades out long here, hair. The call your manager haircut. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Comment if you know what I'm talking about. She's even got that haircut in here. So, okay, moving on. All right, Patriotica. Antarctica decided to bring some sexy back into comic books. Congratulations.
All right, now we're talking.
And a little patriotism, too. Nothing wrong with that. If you don't know, Athena, the goddess, apparently has to change bodies every now and then. And she couldn't do it with the first person she saved. She's stranded on a beach. She finds a little college girl, zaps her, makes her strong. And we don't go through the usual, and I've been a critic of this before. I hate it when somebody's like, hey, you're a superhero. And they're like, freaking A, I'm good at everything.
You don't have to worry about that, sweetheart.
And there's no training cycle of how to learn the powers. We didn't get that in here. Forged in fire, right? We get thrown right into a conflict and they have to figure it out. But it keeps mentioning, hey, you're going to need some more training to get this done right. So at the end, we get dropped off. Athena being a Greek or Roman god. I want to say Greek. I'll have to look that back up. Athena, yeah, Greek. At the end, we see some bugs, specific types of beetles from history that are inscribed in walls, attacking a bunch of soldiers. And then an Egyptian god saying, Athena, yeah, we thought the rumors were true. We're here, and that's where it ends up. Very fast-paced story. Like, you're not digesting a lot here. It is just moving along very quickly. And I don't really like the fast-pacedness of the story. But regardless, I thought it was okay. Maybe they'll slow it down in issue 2, but it's definitely worth a second look. So I'll be picking up issue 2. So guys, that's my haul. That's all I got. Don't forget, we're going to go over to Plaster Stash It Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to have a live chat room. You can hang out with us and we could talk about these comic books to your heart's content.
You're always so eager to please him.
We have a lot of great people that regularly show up. Definitely be part of the community. Also, it looks like the Blaster Stash It crew, we're all going to Baltimore. With or without a con, we've decided we're going to go to Baltimore. Hopefully there's a Comic-Con. If not, there's plenty of other things to do in Baltimore with or without a coronavirus thingus.
You are the reason I still have faith.
going on. So definitely check that out. All right, guys, that's my work phone. I got to get out of here. Take it easy. Be safe. Stay away from each other. And I'll see you next time. Bye.